Hello guys, hope we're doing well. My name is Mahmoud Kiasari and welcome to the new chapter of Advanced Algebra. So in this chapter, like the previous one, we would like to solve 15 different kind of challenges that is completely related to everything we learned so far. So these kind of questions or challenges are going to be fun, amusing, and also entertaining with a little bit of math in it, which you will always sure you will enjoy them. So without further ado, let's just talk about it. As you see right now, we are going to act as a detective, and we do have 15 challenges which are going to lead us to the fact that we are going to solve a case. And at the end, you guys will completely understand that how each of these challenges are going to help us in order to be a better person as a detective. So it's our mission. We should choose to accept it. So welcome, you're as a detective, and your assignment is to investigate 15 of algebra's most notorious cases. Each problem hides a clever trap or a hidden twist, and this is your job. Find the solution and expose the tricks. Let's just begin. So as I just told you, and probably most of you are familiar with my method, is that all the time I insist on having the active learning. It means that so far you should have your pen and paper ready and then try to look at the question. Each of the question based on the slides or based on the question that I'm giving you, you should just look at the question. Pause the video without even looking at the answer. That's why the answer is a little bit hidden right now. Then try to just solve it by yourself. At the end of that, if you're somehow confident enough that say, I could answer the question by myself, so I think I'm good, you can just pause, you can just play the video again and try to check it, whether your answer is the same one as I'm going to teach you or not. Again, if your answer were right, thumbs up. That is totally fine. But if your answer were not right, you have to watch completely. Again, pause the video. Go back to the question, try to solve it based on my way, or at least based on the idea that I'm giving you to solve this kind of questions. Again, replay the video to make sure that the one that you did is going to be as the same as I did. So at this point, it is very important for you guys in order to completely understand the process. Again, I'm insisting on active learning rather than passive one. So enough, and let's just have this part for itself. So as I just told you, right now we do have cases. Let's start with the case number one, the disappearing variable. What does that mean? Imagine that I do have a question that 3 times x minus 4 plus 12 is equals to 3x, and the question is obviously there that I would like to look for x. What is the variable that I can have? As you guys know, this is a linear equation. It means that I'm only going to have one variable if I do have. And so at this point, the very first thing I have to do is just expand and watch how those x's or numbers are going to cancel each other. By expand means that 3 multiplied by x and 3 multiplied by negative 4. So far I do have 3x subtracted by 12. Then I do have a fact that 3x minus 12 is just expanded plus 12 is equals to 3x. This negative 12 is going to cancel out this positive 12, and at the end you have 3x equals to 3x. So you can see that something strange is happening, because if you just again move the 3x to another side, you have 3x subtracted by 3x is equals to 0. So it means that 0 equals to 0 and somehow nothing. So in this kind of condition, that when we do have a fact that 0 equals to 0, or maybe at some point you do have 1 equals to 2, because you're probably going to have that, we have two conditions. The very first one is that when you reach to a fact that 0 is equals to 0, 1 is equals to 1, 2 is equals to whatever, some kind of side, this case says that you can have infinite amount of answers. So maybe you would ask, what is infinite amount of numbers? It means that it doesn't matter what number you put in x. All the time, your equation in K is going to be right. Why? Because the left side and right side are completely identical. So what would happen at the time that I do have a fact that 1 equals to 2 at the end of the day after doing all of the cancellation? So this is the time that it says to you that this equation is not acceptable. You cannot have any answer for that specific equation. So that was about the case. I was going to talk about it. So it wasn't a normal equation. It was the infinite answer equation. Then move to the next part. At this point, we do have the fraction trap. As you guys just know me, I really don't like the fraction, and every time I tell my students, find a way to get rid of them. So I do have 2x over 3 plus x over 2 is equals to 5. So at this point, you guys know we have to use the LCD, least common denominator. So the least common denominator of 2 and 3 is most of the time is what is 2 times 3. So if you don't feel comfortable around least common denominator, choose the CD or common denominator. So common denominator comes out of one denominator multiplied by another one, and that's it. So I do have 2x over 3 plus x over 2 equals to what? Equals to 5. So I have to multiply both sides by 6, and then I can understand something about it. So 6 times 2x over 3 means that 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2. So I do have as 4x. Then I do have 6 multiplied by x over 2. If you do that, either you can cancel the 6 and 2 or divide them at the very beginning. It would be 6 divided by 2 is 3. Or you can multiply 6 by x and after that divided by 2. Either of these two ways, you should have the same answer. So 3x equals to what? Equals to 30. So at the end of the day, I do have all of my x's in one side and all of the numbers in another side. So I do have 7x is equals to 30. So my final x is going to be 30 over 7. You can do this calculation. 30 divided by 7 is something around 4.3, or you can just consider that. Second case closed. Then we do have the next one, the hidden 0. What does that mean? At this point, I do have x times x minus 5 is equals to 0. So the question simply asks to find the answer, or all of the answers that would be acceptable for this one. If you guys know, and I can either somehow expand these parentheses by x, or some kind of x by negative 5, and at the end I do have a quadratic equation, or I can simply just answer it right now. How? I know that if I would like to have the 0 out of the multiplication of two terms, x is one term and x minus 5 is another term, either one of these two guys should be 0. Either x is 0 or x minus 5 is 0. So if x is equals to 0, my guy is going to be 0 and this guy is going to be negative 5. Still, I do have 0. If x is equals to 5, this x is going to be 5. X minus 5 is equals to 0. So both of them, my answer is right. And right now, I do have two answers. Let's move to the next one. Square both sides carefully. So I do have an equation that x plus a root of x plus 3 is equals x minus 1. As you guys know, again, radicals or roots, like fractions, should be taken care of. How we can do that? By multiplying or by using the power of 2 for both sides. So if I do that, if I use the power 2 for this guy, it should be x plus 3. And if I use the power 2 of this side, it would be x minus 1 to the power 2. We know that x minus 1 to the power 2 is x to the power 2 subtracted by 2x plus 1. So far I do have this answer. And finally, I have to do what? I have to rearrange everything in order to what? To reach to one quadratic equation. So x2 subtracted by 2x plus 1. I'm going to move all of the numbers to this side. Subtracted by 3 equals to 0. So I do have as x2 subtracted by 2 equals to 0. So I do have it as this. And you guys know, in order to solve this equation, first of all, we have to check something we know as delta. So delta is b to the power 2, or the coefficient by x, subtracted by 4ac. A is the coefficient by x2, and c is the coefficient by number itself. So if you do that, you would have the root of 17, or you have the 17. Then you have to follow a formula. It would be negative b plus minus root delta divided by 2a. By this way, we can find x1 and x2. But wait, we found two answers for x1 and x2, and both of them are real. One is 3 plus root 17 divided by 2. Another one, 3 subtracted by root 17 divided by 2. But we didn't consider one fact, that this kind of equation is going to be true for a time that root, or the number beside the root, should be more 0 or more than that. So if you use one of these guys, 3 subtracted by root 17 divided by 2, your number beside or beneath the root is going to be negative. It means that you do have a root of a negative number. We know it's complex, but right now we don't care about that. So it means that one of these answers are not right. Make sure that all the time at the very beginning, put some boundaries or limits for your equation to make sure that your answer is going to be applicable, is going to be trustworthy for the whole equation itself. So first square, then check. We do have only one answer, and that would be the positive one. This guy is not accepted. Then we do have the coefficient illusion. Solve it. For 5x subtracted by 3 equals to 2x plus 9. So at this point, you guys know how to handle it. It's not that kind of a big deal. Just move x into one side and move numbers to another side. So you have 5x minus 2x is equals 9 plus 3. So you have 3x is equals to 12 and your x is equals to 4 itself. As simple as that. So group the variables on one side and other numbers on another side. Case closed. The rational equation warning. So what would happen if I do have a question like this? 1 over x plus 1 is equals to 1. So you guys know we have to multiply both sides by the common denominator. What is the common denominator? Unlike the previous questions that we had numbers, we do have terms right now. So the only thing you have to do, just multiply both sides by x times x plus 1. So if I do that, x times x plus 1 multiplied by 1 over x plus 1 equals to what? X times x plus 1 multiplied by 1 itself. So you do have this guy. You can just simplify it, x to the power 2 plus x, if you know how to do that. And if you multiply this one, you do have x plus 1. Then you can multiply the whole thing by this side. So you do have just a normal x. So x plus 1 plus x equals to what? Equals to x to the power 2 plus x. Again, right now we are talking about the quadratic equation, which means that your x, first of all, this x should move to another side. So it means that x and x are going to cancel at each other. And if I move this guys to over here, I do have x to the power 2 subtracted by x, which equals 1. So if I just find the x1 and x2, we know that first of all we have to find the delta. So delta is going to be b2 1 subtracted by 4 times 1 times negative 1 is going to be 5, right? So my x1 and 2 is going to be 1 plus minus root 5 divided by 2. So at this point, again, we have to check our answer. If your answer is going to be a number like 0 or negative 1, your x is not going to be acceptable. Why? We know for a fact that any number could be a divided by 0 is undefined. So if something happened and my answers are going to make this guys as one number divided by 0 is not going to be acceptable. But since these two numbers are fine, so we don't have any problem with that. Let's move to the next one, the negative sign ambush. So solve this question and solve this kind of equation. So the important thing you have to know, when I do have the negative number and there's nothing beside that, means that actually this guy is negative 1. So negative 1 multiplied by 2x and negative 1 multiplied by negative 7. What it would give us, that I do have negative 2x plus 7 equals to 11. At this point, if I move this 7 over here, I do have 11 subtracted by 7 is going to be 4. So negative 2x equals to 4, and if I solve this one, x would be negative 2. As simple as that. The only thing that I would like you guys to make sure that completely get it is about this negative sign, because this negative, sometimes you can apply it for the 2x, but you forget that you have to apply it for also negative 7, and you also going to write down as negative 7. So your total answer is going to be wrong. But in order to check that your answer is right or not, is that just use this guy and double check it inside your question to make sure that left side and right side of equation are going to be similar. The exponent logic. So we do have 2 to the power x plus 1 is equals to 16. The very first thing you have to do is that either we can use the ln or logarithm, which is related to one of the logarithmic and exponential equations, or we can just simply find the factors of 16. The factor of 16 is 2, means that the smallest number, the smaller prime number, that it could be multiplied by itself 4 times, so I do have it as 16. Then I'm going to, since my bases are going to be the same, my powers should be the same as well. So x plus 1 equals to 4, and my x is going to be 3. As simple as that. Then I do have another sign, the system with a twist. I do have x plus y is equals to 10, x minus y is equals to 4. It's just simply the two unknown two equations. So we know for 3 ways for that. Either we can use the elimination, or we can use the substitution, or we can use the matrix way. But at this point, since everything seems simple, we are going to use the elimination. It means that we are going to add the left side of those equations together and the right side of equations together. Then we are going to lose something. And what is that? That thing is positive y and negative y. These two guys are going to cancel each other. So 2x is going to be 14. So my x is going to be 7. I can use the 7 in either of these two equations and then find y. If I do that, my y is going to be 3. Am I done? No. First of all, I have to double check my answers in the first equation, then in the second equation, to make sure that everything is okay. By the way, sometimes it happens that you check your answers in one equation and it's right, so you guys say that, okay, probably is going to be right for the next one. No, I've seen so many times that the students are going to make mistakes, that they are checking it for the first one and first one is okay, but the second one is a tricky part. So when you're trying to make sure that everything is fine with your answers, make sure that you check it for all of the equations. If you do have 3 equations, 3 are known, check all of them. 4 equations, 4 unknowns, again check all of them. Make sure that nothing is going to be problem for your final answer. So let's have some kind of question, the fake solution. So imagine that I do have x divided by x minus 2 is equals to 1. So as you guys know, if I do have a question like this, a over b is equal to c over d, we do have a rule, or we do have a way that we call as a cross multiplication. It means that the first numerator is going to be multiplied by the second denominator. The second numerator is going to be multiplied by the first denominator. So we do have AD is equals to what? Equals to BC. So this is the fact. We are going to do that over here. X divided by x minus 2 is equals to 1 over 1, right? I can write any number, or I can rewrite any number over 1 itself. So at this point, my x is equals to x minus 2. Then I do have as what? That I do have, if I move x over here, I do have x minus x is going to be 0 is equals to negative 2. That is the problem I told you at the very beginning. I do have an issue that 0 is not going to be in negative 2 in a million years. So it means that this equation doesn't have any answer. So it doesn't matter if you have an equation that is going to be solid, that is going to be okay. At the end of the day, if you just did all of those simplification and you found out a problem like this, means that you don't have any answer. So completing the squares, x to the power 2 subtracted by 6x plus 5 equals to 0. We know about that. We know either we can do the factoring, or we can just do the normal quadratic equation formula, find the delta. It would be 36 subtracted by 4 times 5 times 1 is going to be 16. Then your x1 and 2 is going to be negative b, or is going to be negative of negative 6. 6 plus minus root 16 divided by 2a is going to be 2. So you have 6 plus 4 divided by 2 is going to be 5. 6 minus 4 divided by 2 is going to be 1. So you do have it like this. If you would like to write it down as a factoring format, it's going to be x minus 5 times x minus 1 equals to 0. Both of them are going to be the same, so we don't have any issue. The absolute value is split. What do I have? I do have the absolute of 2x minus 3 is equals to 5. If you guys remember, when I do have a question like this, the absolute of x is going to be a. I do have two answers. X could be a itself, or x could be negative a itself, because we know absolute is going to make whatever number that you have inside itself as positive. So right now, I'm going to have two equations. 2x minus x minus 3 equals to negative 5. If I do that, I have to move negative 3 to the other side. Do x is equals to be negative 2, so x is equal to be negative 1. Check. And then if I have to do this one, if I do have to move through the first path, my 2x is equals to 5 plus 3, so I do have this guy as what? As 8. So my x is equals to 4. Am I done? No. Obviously, I have to check that both of these answers are going to be right inside this equation itself. So by doing that, I mean, 4 over here, I do have 2 times 4 subtracted by 3. Obviously, it's 5. Then, if I use the negative 1 over here, it would be 2 times negative 1 subtracted by 3, and it's going to be negative 5. So I do have it as the number that I need. So let's do have another question, the fraction inside a fraction. So what would happen if I do have something like this? Again, I have to consider to get rid of all of the fractions by multiplying both sides by the common denominator. We know that the common denominator would be x times x plus 1. And also, just before that, I have to make sure that the boundaries or the limitation that I have related to each of those fractions should be considered. So it means that my answer cannot be 0, and also it cannot be 1. Right? So let's just use the multiplication of the common denominator. 3 over x times x plus 1 times 3 over x equals to 2 over x plus 1 times x plus 1 itself. So if you just do this, all of the multiplication itself, you know that this x is going to cancel this x, so you do have 3 times x plus 1. X plus 1 is going to cancel this one, you do have 2x. So 3x plus 3 is equals to 2x. So right now, if I move this 3x over here, my 3 is going to be what? Negative x, and my x is going to be what? Negative 3. since I know that this x is equal to negative 3 is not going to be inside the boundaries, x is negative 3 is going to be my right answer. You can double check it by putting negative 3 over here, and you see that finally you are going to right equation. So the sneaky constant, at this point, I do have another equation. 7 times x minus 2 plus 14 is equal to 7x. We know how we can do that. The very first thing is about expansion. 7 times x, 7 times negative 2. So finally, we do have 7x subtracted by 14 plus 14 is going to 7x, right? Negative 14 is out, x cancels to 14, and 7x is going to 7x. So it means that right now I do have all the answers in the board. It means that my equation is going to be right for any of x's, and I don't have any kind of issue. This is 7x is equal to 7x. It's just a fact. Finally, the final boss. At this point, I do have x plus 1 over x is equals to 4. The very first thing that I have to know is that x as 0 cannot be answered. So let's solve it. It means that I have to multiply both sides by what? By x. X is going to be considered as the common denominator of all of them. So x, write it down like that one. So I do have x multiplied by x is going to be x to the power 2. X multiplied by 1 over x is going to be 1. And I do have x to the power 4 is going to be 4x. So if I just rearrange that, it would be x to the power 2 subtracted by 4x plus 1 equals to 0. Find the delta. The delta would be b to the power 2 subtracted by 4ac. 16 subtracted by 4 is going to be 12. So my x1 and 2 is going to be 4 plus minus root of 12 divided by 2a or 2. So I do have two answers, and everything is going to be settled. So what we learned so far? We so far learned 4 things, or maybe more than that, but these are the 4 some kind of keys. The extraneous or fake solution that going to appears correct but fails out this the final check. We saw that in case number 4. The variable that vanishes, revealing an identity. If you have 3x is equal to 3x, or just having this kind of like this one going to help you out, that finds this the answer for this one, it means that you have infinite number of answers. And if you face something like this, you do have the 0 answers. The forbidden value that going to be created division by 0, as I just told you the very first time, that you have to consider the fact that you're dealing with fractions. You have to make sure that your final answer should not be conditioned for your equation to be something like this. It is undefined. And finally, numbers and expressions are hiding in other forms, waiting to be simplified. The simplification matters, so make sure that you're going to simplify everything. So these were 15 important challenges that I thought would be useful for all of you. Again, you can just rewatch the video, try to solve it by yourself to make sure that you guys completely understand. By understanding kind of challenging, easy, at some points a little bit kind of hard, you can make sure that you would be ready for any kind of questions, any exams, and any kind of cases. If you like this video, I would be more than happy if you just share it and like it, and obviously I'm looking for your comment down below and tell me how whole some kind of chapter itself. My name is Mahmoud Kiasari. Have yourself a great day, night, whatever. See you around.